So this is year 2 hay wall. So this was the year 1. You can see it's composted down, and the things stayed established. So it goes strawberry, raspberry, elderberry, raspberry, elderberry, raspberry, grape, blackberry. So it's a hay wall now, but eventually it'll be a berry wall. Berry hay wall. Berry hay wall. And then we lined it out with flowers. I'm a fan of hay bale gardening personally, and especially if you're gonna leave the hay bale there in place to compost down and build soil. So this is like really nice looking, but it also serves as a feature. Before the creek was really cleaned out, the water would flood across the yard up into the garden, like halfway. So where we extended the garden to 10 feet this way, we were able to now because it doesn't flood 15 into the garden. And that was once we started working the creek. And the hay wall was actually like our first attempted line of defense, was to stop the water from coming in. And we had flowers on there. And as it composted down, I thought, well, couldn't we just turn it into more of a perennial long-term wall? And then we started planting it out with the elderberry and the raspberries. And they did fine. They're doing great. We love it. So I added in a second row of hay bale this year to give it a little more height. And then I'll probably put in some sporadic ones from here on out, but it has like a big, nice hill shape to start giving it that defense. If it does float over again, it'll just bounce back into the creek. So it's a dual purpose wall, right? It looks good, and it also stops a flood from coming in and destroying the garden. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's so it can be easily carried away in the flood.
Not really, because these...
Well, that soil.
Oh gosh, yeah, it'll get washed away. It'll be underwater. The first pictures I posted, remember when I took the course, as the rains came in January and February, when we were taking the gardening course, and everyone's doing their design and start going out and playing, all the water started coming in from the snowmelt and Mount Rainier, and then our spring rains. Oh, it was covered, and I was like, okay, well, let's do this design. And this was the first. I was like, stop the water from taking everything out. And then from there it was, let's find the creek. Okay, now let's stop soil erosion. Okay, now let's redefine the creek shape so we are not losing soil and the creek stays in its channel. And now it's, let's revive the creek. I've walked about 5 miles and 8 miles of the whole creek. I found the first native salmon and reported in a long time. I took the salmon watcher course, and we were going out tracking on different spots along Yelm Creek, and there just hadn't been reports of native salmon. Like, they're seeing hatchery salmon, but they hadn't seen them in a while. So we just didn't know that there would be salmon on the creek, period. And we found native. I got pictures, sent it in. It was exciting times, right? So they came up about, I would say, 1.5 miles, 2 miles. So that would be about 2 miles from here. So we're about 4 miles if you follow the creek to the river, to the Nisqually River. So they made it about halfway to this creek. So I'm like, this is my edge effect, right? Like, I'm rejuvenating the creek and I'm pushing it down to maybe the salmon can make their way back up. And then that salmon will eventually help revitalize the land and all that too. But I mean, how cool would that be? Because like my elder buddies and stuff, and like the neighbors, they talk about the salmon. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I used to have salmon back here. You know, I'm like, well, we don't even have a creek, right? So we need to bring it back, which is even funnier, right? Because I was talking with the lady who was cleaning out the house next door, and I said, I hope you don't mind I weed whacked and cleaned out the back part of the creek. She said, that's fine, but just don't let the salmon people know. And I said, what's one of the salmon people? Like, what is that? And she said, oh, like the Department of Ecology or anybody, you know, they like that, you could get in big trouble for disrupting the ecosystem. And I was kind of like, what ecosystem? And she laughed and said, yeah, what ecosystem? And I said, no, like, honestly, what ecosystem am I disrupting? There's no creek, it's dead. How do we bring it back to life? I was like, this is my attempt to bring it back to life. And it's like, I'm not disrupting anything, I'm trying to revitalize it. So I want them to come in. Oh, and by the way, I'm a stream steward and I work with the salmon watchers, so I am the salmon people, right? So it's like, so it worked out good, but I found that interesting, like, that even if she meant right, and she wanted to come out here and help clean out the creek, she wouldn't, because she would think she would get a fine or in big trouble for trying to help. So maybe there's like some gray area we need to like work out a little to where it's okay to help out, and we have to, right? Because if we don't, this creek will die. So I look at my edge effect. Like all my neighbors on the street said that this flooding was a lot less this year, so it is working. I've weed whacked. I cleaned out the creek. It doesn't look as cool as this, but I cleaned out about a half a mile. So there's about a half a mile that looks like this, cleaned out, not as like defined, but is like. There's a creek there now, like it's a shape of it. So the water will stay in its channel. So yeah, it's this like an edge effect. Like, so it's like, we look at our pockets of regeneration. I have my acre, and it's like, oh, the world's in dismay, but I have my pocket, my acre, and I'm trying to like heal the world with my acre, and then someone else has their acre of regenerability or that's not even, but they're trying to like revitalize it, right? And someone else has 10 acres or 5 acres, right? Whatever. Everyone has little pockets, and you start looking at it on a bigger scale, right? It's not so like, you don't have to be so worried about it, because it's like, well, we're all trying. And then when I look at this, like my little acre, but I've stretched my little acre out 8 miles, right? It's like I'm helping this creek work back down there. So if you want to keep it going, like it eventually kicks onto the river. So I'm helping the river too. So it all like kind of connects. It branches together and connects. It all helps. Which is like when I work with everybody, I go out there and I do all the talks, and I connect people. I say, river council, stream stewards, we need to work with the gardeners and the tree planters and the forestry. Like we're all doing our part at different times of the season, so we can all help each other at our down times, or maybe we need more help at our peak times, right? And then, because we're all fighting the same fight, we just need to help each other out, right? So it's like, which has been fun for me, because I've been able to kind of get backstage pass a lot of places, and it's like, wait, this is what you guys do? How fun is this? And it's like, we should let more people know. And we put flyers out. Like, well, we need to put more flyers out or something. Like, how do we let more people know about this stuff, or take these free classes that give the people the confidence to bring a creek back to life, right? Like, and it's not hard. This is not like, you'll see. We'll show the pictures. It's just, I poke a stick in the ground and I put another stick behind it. And I poke another stick in the ground and I wrap another stick behind it. And I think I look at it as, well, I've seen it. I have like 6 inches of height, for sure growth. The soil that should have run off from last year, it's trapped it, so I can measure it, because you can see the log is down and the soil is up, and it's up to my logs I added this year. So it's like all that would have been gone, washed in there, down the creek, or that was choking out the creek and was creating the flooding, right? So it's like we have to stop the erosion, and the sticks are really there. I know they're gonna rot away, but in the meantime, while they're there, they're holding things in place and allowing the grasses to drive their roots down and like build that structure. Because yeah, I'm planting in there in a creek area, but I also respect the area, and I understand that it is a creek area, and I want the riparian area to rebuild itself, right? And I want the grasses to do the grass things. But in the meantime, I'll throw these annuals in and enjoy them while everything's rebuilding too. And then I'll strategically place in perennials where they'll work the best. Yeah, I have a willow in that corner and that corner. Those are my peak trees. That was the circle project that I sent, and I was like, I don't want my soil to wash away, so I made a circle of hay, and then I dug it out and I put the tree in there and I packed in the soil. I'll send you a picture, but I have it to when the flooding came in, it didn't actually penetrate into the soil. It got it moist, and the hay bale soaked up all that water and like kept the soil nice and moist, but it didn't wash nothing away. So the theory worked like perfectly, right? Like, how do I put raised beds out here and not let it wash away?
It's so huge. I mean, you remember from the gardening class that student that had the rice field that they lived in, and they're like, well, when it rains, nothing penetrates, and then everything floods because it's perfectly flat.
Yeah.
And it's like,
build up.
Yeah.
Build up. And that's the thing is, I forgot the numbers, but how much soil erosion have we had, like loss, right? And then we can calculate soil erosion every year. So like, yeah, that's a corporate. So if like we're talking about digging down, or we know we're going to get floods every year, it's because we had soil erosion for so long, right? So we have to build soil. And I think build soil, also build up, right? So we have to build it and build it up. And that is here. And that's why I just tested the theories with the hay, and it's working. It's composting down, and but it's building it up. And I've actually watched, it's kind of funny, but you can see the land starting to form and build up as well, right? In the areas that the hay is staying and kind of, it's like it's composting down, but then like there's no runoff. So then the silt from last year was built, trapped against there. And now like the grass is growing higher this year than it was last year. So when we get back and we start walking, I'll show you the trails, but the trails are obviously lower this year, and you'll see and be like, wow, okay.
And so you said the straw bales are full of mycelium?
Oh, packed. It's just so funny because like when they say you prime them or warm them up or whatever, so you soak them. I have water this year, right? So I'm literally soaking it. It's like a big sponge, and then it sat there and it's been soaking. And now when you open it up, like the mycelial network in there is just amazing. It's white and like powder, like kind of like, I don't know, we'll take a look. We'll get some pictures of it because it's really interesting to look at. And I get why people enjoy hay bale gardening so much more now, because it's like, look at the growth and look at the fungal network that is connected, and it's so easy. Like, you don't have to once it's like conditioned, you don't have to water it really much at all. And then as things die off, because it's so conditioned, I just go right in there and just open up a new spot, poke a new plant in, like it, so I can continue my season as long as the hay bales are going. So it's like, I'm a big fan of $5 flats. I just get a whole flat of the same flowers or varieties, and then I'll just mix them in. It's cheap, and I know they're annuals, but I can start adding variety or stuff that I just didn't like. Oh, all right, let's throw that in there. Right? So like right now we have a lot of geranium. All right.
That's awesome.
With Shelly working at the greenhouse now, it's evolved our plant base so much more, right? 'Cause like, I get the design, I get the layout, and I enjoy building soil. The plants, I'm like still novice and I just don't know them all, and I'm not around them enough to be like, that's that. To where she's working at the greenhouse now and she's like, that's this and it does this. She knows the effects and like how it works and all that. I'm like, where could I put that? Or how can I companion that with something else? So it's like become like an even better husband-wife relationship, right? Like we've already had a great relationship, but now it's become even better. Now it's like we have even more to talk about. Like, oh, it's like, this is what we do, right? It's like, are we gardeners? Are we farmers? Are we homesteaders? We're just like this like morph of all of it, and like we just enjoy nature, right? And it's like, all right, like that's what I was saying. It's like gardening takes so much time. It's like not like this is what we do, so it's like I'm not putting any real time into it, you know, because I'm gonna do that anyways, right? Like when I took the first permaculture course, I was kind of in like a weird transition in my life. And I was looking for something more, and it was everything that was I had been looking into was kind of pointed me towards permaculture. And so I was diving in. When I dove in and took the first gardening course, I literally dove in and took the first gardening course, like, and I was like, okay, like this is what I'm gonna do, because everything's kind of funneling me to it. And even that's when I kept telling you, I was like, oh, so this is my PDC, right? I got my permaculture design course. Like, yeah. And you're like, no, this is a gardening course. And I was like, yeah, whatever. All right, cool. PDC, yeah, garden PDC. But I didn't get it. Like, but I get it now, like the design. But it was like, even then, it was such a good intro into permaculture design, because it is design, right? It's like how you design your personal garden. Well, now you design like a bigger garden, and it forced me to start looking at everything more. And really from that first course, it just opened more doors and new possibilities, right? Because things I just didn't know about or just shunned away because it just wasn't a part of my daily life, now it was, or I wanted it to be. So I started looking more things up. Big thing for me was like pain management, and then food stability and that kind of stuff. And I'm looking at like the medications they're prescribing and the side effects. And then I was looking at, okay, well, how could I do that naturally and not have the side effects, right? So, and that was another thing too. So I started to look at that gardening course opened more doors. So I'm planting more herbs and that kind of things, like turmeric and that kind of turmeric, to help manage inflammation and pain and that kind of stuff. So I've added that into my garden, right? So like, yeah, that gardening course has changed my life for good so much, because like I can manage my pain, I'm eating healthier. And then when we were down at Camp Sinuan, I remember Quatermac was saying like, when he's working on his bokashi bucket, like he's like, I want to feed myself better stuff because I'm feeding my compost better stuff, and my compost is feeding my plants better stuff, and in return my plants are feeding me better stuff, and I'm feeding my compost better stuff. It's like, how do I build this super system as well, right? And so now I'm looking at like my compost, and I'm like, and I'm subconsciously now eating healthier because I want my compost and all that healthier, right? So I'm like, I'll eat another banana. It's good for the compost, right? So it's like I said, it's all been good, and everything's only gotten better from that course. And like I said, I jumped into it. When I jumped in, I was like, this is what I want to do because everything's saying this is what I'm kind of looking at, right? Pinterest has a funny algorithm that works it, but that was the algorithm that kept saying, oh, you should check out Pinterest, you should check out permaculture, right? Because I was like, how do I have chickens better? How do I companion plant? How do I set it up so everything works right? And it's like, starts popping up these permaculture things, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. All right, what I want companion planting, right? I want landscape design. I don't want permaculture. And so that's the thing is, well, it's all of it is permaculture, but that was really, Pinterest was like telling me like, go do this, and then it lined up perfectly. The year class was right then, and I took it, and it was probably, like I said, it's one of the best classes I've ever taken, right? Because it's opened up so many new possibilities that I just wouldn't have never thought of because they weren't in my daily life. So, and now I'm like trying to convince everybody, like, you should totally, like, I'm like, tell everyone, start a garden because that's going to be just the easy step. A garden is easy, like an easy foot in the door, because you're going to be thinking about that garden, and subconsciously you're going to start thinking about what you're eating or like what you're growing, and then you're like, how do I make that plant or whatever grow better, or I want it to taste better, or now I'm like, next year I want more, right? So then it goes in line with planning in time, right? So for people that may be like kind of like stuck in a rut, like how I was kind of then at the time I took the course, I just felt like, this is me now, right? So now I'm already like planning next year's garden, right? Like, so it's like, how do you get out of that rut? Like I garden, right? Like now I'm like, I would do this with the garden. I'm going to do this. That's like garden season just started, right? And I'm already planning next year's and stuff like that. But I've planned it in time, and so I'm enjoying all of it. So yeah, I said from that new course, like it just blew up a whole new me, right? Like, and it hasn't changed me any, right? If anything, it's enhanced me, right? Because now I was an athlete, I was in the military, all this stuff, and everyone says, well, would you do it again, and how could you do it differently? If I knew the food education and the simplicity of it now, where I could have took my sports and the military like then, right? Because I'm not saying like I ate too bad or like I had that, but now I wasn't drinking kefir, I wasn't drinking kombucha, I wasn't growing my own food, right? I was just kind of doing the run-of-the-mill thing, and it's like, well, how much better could I have performed, right? Like how much faster could I have ran? Like how much more accurate could I have been? Had I known this now, like, and now how do we introduce this into the regular daily life, right? And a lot of people say, like, "What is this ancient? This is old ways of doing things." It's like, yeah, it is, but we need to bring it back, right? Like, we can't let this fade away again, right? Like, so yeah, these are old practices that just kind of faded away. A lot of people didn't let them fade away. Like, there's tons of people that still can. Like, I just started canning, but like, these are practices that we need to continue on because they will carry us to the future for good, right? Like, you save a lot of money growing your own food, right? Like I don't spend a lot of money buying salad because it's all right there, right? And you start calculating how many salads you eat a week, month, year. You're like, yeah, it's a lot of money. When I'm like, yeah, it's about $10 there, right? Like so, and I can eat it for like the entire season. Design it a little better with a hoop house over it, and I could probably eat year round on a salad, right? So that's the next step is. We were talking before, I set everything up year one and I had a great time, and it evolved into where we are now, into year two, and I started messing with compost teas and like an advanced step up, and I look like, why didn't I do this in year one? It's so easy. It's like, well, I had a lot going on in year one. Like, I gotta learn like, well, can I even do that? Like, so yeah, it was interesting. So it's like, as I evolve into year three, like I haven't even finished year two yet, but where's year three go? Throwing me looking back like I should have been doing this last year. It's so easy.